"That blanket is not for people in your section," the flight attendant snapped, yanking it from 8-year-old Malik Brooks's hand so hard that his small fingers scraped against the plastic armrest. The cabin froze. Malik sat curled beside the window, shivering in a thin gray hoodie, rainwater still darkening the shoulders from the dash across the jet bridge. His mother, Maya, looked up slowly from her seat, her voice controlled. "He is cold. You just gave the same blanket to the child across the aisle." The attendant, Denise Carter, planted one hand on her hip and smiled without warmth. "That family paid for the service. You should have planned better." A few passengers lowered their eyes. Someone whispered, "Did she really say that?" 2 rows back, a phone quietly lifted above a seat. Malik's face tightened as every adult around him watched his humiliation. Maya reached for him, but Denise held the blanket against her chest like evidence in a crime. "And don't make this difficult," she added. "I can have both of you removed before takeoff." The confidence in her voice made it clear she believed no one would challenge her. Maya did not shout. She only asked, "Are you sure this is the decision you want the entire cabin to remember?" Denise laughed. "Nobody here cares," but several passengers were already staring at her differently. And if stories where dignity faces power matter to you, like this video and subscribe to EchoStory, because Denise had no idea who she had just threatened, or why one quiet phone call was about to shake the entire airline. 20 minutes earlier, Maya and Malik had boarded Flight 417 without drawing attention. Maya wore simple black pants, white sneakers, and a navy coat with one missing button. Malik carried a faded backpack decorated with planets, while Maya held a leather folder pressed beneath her arm. They were flying from Atlanta to Seattle after burying Maya's mother, Evelyn, the woman who had raised Malik during Maya's longest work trips. Inside the backpack was a knitted blue scarf Evelyn had finished from her hospital bed. "For cold places," she had whispered, tying it around Malik's neck with trembling hands. At the gate, Malik had asked if Grandma could still see airplanes. Maya had swallowed the ache in her throat and answered, "Maybe from higher up than all of us." That memory was why she stayed calm now, even when grief sat just beneath her ribs. Evelyn had taught her that anger could be used against you, but precision could not. Maya's ticket placed them in premium economy, though nothing about her appearance suggested importance. She declined early boarding, carried her own bags, and thanked every employee they passed. As they reached row 12, Denise looked at their boarding passes longer than necessary, then glanced from Maya's worn shoes to the leather folder. "You're sure these are your seats?" she asked. Maya answered politely and showed the passes again. Denise stepped aside, but her eyes followed them down the aisle. A junior attendant named Tessa noticed the look and quietly checked the seat map. Everything was correct. Still, Denise leaned toward her and murmured, "Watch those two." Before the doors even closed, she had already decided what kind of passengers they were. The first sign came when Denise offered water to every passenger in row 12, except Maya and Malik. She moved past them with the cart, then stopped 3 seats later and laughed warmly with another family. Malik raised his hand. "Excuse me, ma'am?" Denise turned with irritation. "You need to wait." Across the aisle, retired school principal Helen Ward watched the exchange over the top of her glasses. She had seen children made small by adults before, and she recognized the look on Malik's face. Behind them, college student Jordan Lee slid his phone from his pocket and began recording with the screen dimmed against his leg. Tessa, the junior attendant, approached Denise near the galley and whispered, "Row 12 has full service." "I checked." Denise's jaw tightened. "I know the cabin better than you do." Tessa looked toward Maya, then away, afraid of challenging the senior attendant who controlled her probation review. When Malik asked for a blanket, Denise responded loudly enough for nearby rows to hear. "Blankets are limited." "They are not handed out because someone complains." Maya held her gaze. "He is not complaining. He is shivering." Helen offered her own cardigan, but Maya thanked her and said they would wait for the crew. Denise returned carrying 2 sealed blankets. She gave one to a white child across the aisle and placed the second in an empty overhead bin. Whispers spread. Jordan's camera captured everything. Then, when Tessa tried to retrieve the spare blanket, Denise blocked the bin with her arm. "Leave it," she said. "They need to learn that asking repeatedly does not change the rules." And that was when Maya realized this was no misunderstanding. Maya unfastened her seat belt and stood only far enough to speak without raising her voice. "Please explain the rule you are applying." Denise turned toward the cabin as if invited onto a stage. "Passengers may not demand premium supplies they did not purchase." A murmur moved through the rows. Maya lifted both boarding passes. "These seats include premium cabin amenities." Your colleague confirmed it. Denise glanced at the passes and said, "These could belong to someone else." "I saw you switch rows after boarding." The accusation landed heavily. Malik stared at his shoes. Jordan's phone rose higher. Helen spoke from across the aisle. They sat there from the moment they boarded. Denise ignored her. "Ma'am, sit down before I report you for interfering with crew instructions." Maya lowered herself into the seat, then said, "I have obeyed every instruction. I am asking why my son is being denied something you are giving others under the same ticket conditions." A businessman near the front turned around. "That seems like a fair question." Denise's cheeks flushed, but the attention made her more determined. She pulled the spare blanket from the overhead bin, held it where Malik could see it, and locked it inside the galley cabinet. "There, now it is unavailable." Several passengers gasped. Tessa's hands tightened around her tray. Maya's expression did not change, but her thumb pressed against the leather folder. Denise mistook restraint for weakness. She picked up the cabin phone. "I need the lead and airport security at row 12. We have a disruptive passenger refusing to follow policy." The situation was no longer about a blanket, and everyone knew it. Lead attendant Mark Ellison arrived with an airport security officer just as the aircraft door was about to close. Denise spoke first, fast and certain. She challenged instructions, stood in the aisle, claimed amenities she did not pay for, and encouraged passengers to interfere. Mark looked at Maya, then at the growing circle of phones. "Ma'am, if you cannot cooperate, we will remove you and your child." Malik's breath caught. "Mom, are we going to miss Grandma's memorial dinner?" Maya placed a hand over his. "No one is taking you anywhere without explaining why." The officer shifted uncomfortably, but waited for Mark's direction. Helen said, "Speak to witnesses before threatening her." Mark raised a palm. "Stay out of crew matters." More phones appeared. Tessa stood near the galley, pale and silent, while Denise gave her a warning look. Mark leaned closer. "Apologize, stop recording, and accept that no blanket is available. Otherwise, you will be escorted off." Maya glanced at the unopened blanket visible through the cabinet window. Then she asked, "Can you show me the written policy allowing a crew member to deny one child a listed amenity? Provide it to another child in the same row, and report the first child's mother as disruptive for asking why." Mark opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Denise interrupted. "Crew discretion is the policy." Maya nodded. "Then state that clearly on every recording in this cabin." Uneasy agreement moved through the passengers. Mark realized the threat had created witnesses instead of silence. He turned to the officer. "Remove them now." Malik clutched his grandmother's scarf as the officer stepped closer, and the cabin's tension sharpened into fear. Before the officer could touch Maya's shoulder, Helen stood in the aisle. "You will not drag a grieving child off this plane because he asked to be warm." Her voice shook, but it carried to the front galley. Another passenger called out, "We all saw what happened." Then another, "Give him the blanket." The cabin, once silent, began to turn. Denise's face hardened. She unlocked the galley cabinet, pulled out the sealed blanket, and tossed it onto Maya's lap. "There, happy now?" Malik reached for it, but Denise grabbed it back before he could open the package. "Actually, no. Not after this behavior." The cruel reversal broke something in the room. Malik's lower lip trembled. As he pulled his grandmother's blue scarf tighter, one loose thread caught on Denise's bracelet. She jerked her wrist, ripping the scarf across the middle. Malik made a sound so small that Maya nearly lost control. Her hand closed around the torn wool. For 1 second, grief and fury flashed across her face. Then she inhaled, smoothed Malik's hair, and said, "Grandma's love is not in the thread. She is still with you." Even Denise looked away, but only briefly. Maya removed her phone and opened a message thread marked Daniel Cho. She typed 3 lines, attached a photo of the torn scarf, and pressed send. Mark noticed the name and frowned. Tessa saw it too and went still. But what happened next changed everything. Maya placed the phone face down and said, "I'm asking one final time. Preserve the cabin video and do not delete any crew reports." Seconds later, every company device in the galley chimed at once. Someone important had just responded. Mark hurried to the galley as urgent messages filled the crew tablet. Denise followed, insisting, "This is manipulation. She's trying to scare us." Tessa remained beside row 12, staring at Maya's leather folder. A silver wing logo was stamped faintly into the corner, the same logo shown in an internal memo sent to managers 2 weeks earlier. Tessa swallowed. "Ms. Brooks, may I ask your first name?" Maya looked at her. "Maya." The color drained from Tessa's face. In the galley, Mark read the notification twice. "Do not close flight, 4:17. Keep all passengers seated. Executive response team en route." A second message appeared from Daniel Cho, Chief Executive Officer of Meridian Sky Airlines. "Confirm whether Board Director Maya Brooks and her son are safe." Mark's hand began to shake. Denise snatched the tablet. That could be a system error. Then the captain received a direct call from operations. His voice dropped to a whisper as he looked toward row 12. Airport security stepped back from Maya. Tessa finally spoke. "I saw the blanket. I told her your seat's qualified. She told me to stay quiet." Denise spun around. "Think carefully about your career." Tessa's eyes filled, but she did not look away. More alerts arrived. The regional vice president was at the gate, the cabin recording had been secured, and the CEO was joining by video. Denise still refused to accept it. She is just a passenger with a similar name. Then the aircraft door reopened. A man in a dark suit entered holding the executive photograph from the memo, looked directly at Maya and said, "Director Brooks, I am so sorry." The cabin fell into complete silence. Even the air vents seemed loud. The man in the dark suit introduced himself as Raymond Cole, Meridian Sky's Senior Vice President of Operations. "For transparency, Ms. Maya Brooks is a member of this airline's Board of Directors and Chair of the Passenger Dignity and Safety Committee." Shocked whispers rolled from front to back. Denise's posture collapsed. Mark lowered his eyes. Raymond continued. She was traveling privately with her son after a family funeral. This was not a scheduled inspection. Maya stood, holding the torn blue scarf. "And that should not matter," she said. "My son deserved respect before anyone knew my name." No one moved. Jordan raised his phone. "I recorded everything, including the blanket being given to another child and taken from Malik twice." Helen added, "They never caused a disturbance." Other passengers confirmed it. Then Tessa stepped forward, hands trembling. "Denise told me to watch them when they boarded. I confirmed their cabin benefits, but she ordered me not to provide the blanket. When I tried, she blocked me." Denise whispered, "You're lying." Tessa looked at Raymond. "The service camera will show it." Raymond nodded. "It already does." The captain left the cockpit and apologized to Maya and Malik. Maya did not demand revenge. She asked that the evidence be preserved, Tessa be protected from retaliation, and delayed passengers be informed honestly. Raymond faced Denise and Mark. "Effective immediately, you are removed from Flight 417 pending formal investigation. Security will escort you off." That was the moment the power shifted, but Maya's next request surprised everyone. "Before they leave," Maya said, "the apology must go to Malik." Denise looked stunned. She had expected anger about her job, not a demand that she face the child she had humiliated. Raymond nodded. Mark stepped forward first. "Malik, I believed an accusation without checking the facts. I threatened to remove you and your mother. I failed you, and I am sorry." Malik held the torn scarf in both hands and gave a small nod. Denise remained silent until the cabin's stillness became unbearable. Finally, she faced him. "I should have given you the blanket." Maya's eyes sharpened. "That is not the whole apology." Denise looked at the phones, the passengers, and Tessa. "I treated you differently. I embarrassed you in front of everyone, and I damaged something important to you." "I was wrong," Malik asked softly. Would you have done it if my mom wasn't important? Denise could not answer. That silence said more than any confession. Raymond announced that Denise and Mark were suspended pending an independent investigation. All recordings would be reviewed, and Tessa would be protected as a witness. Maya requested clear blanket distribution rules, anti-bias scenario training, and a confidential reporting line for junior crew pressured to stay silent. Tessa finally exhaled, tears slipping down her cheeks. Helen crossed the aisle and wrapped her cardigan around Malik's shoulders. A maintenance employee brought a sewing kit from the gate, and Tessa knelt beside Malik to join the torn scarf. As the blue threads came together, Malik smiled faintly. The blanket had started the conflict, but dignity was what the cabin had fought to restore. Flight 417 departed 45 minutes late, but no one complained. Malik sat by the window beneath a fresh blanket, his grandmother's repaired scarf across his chest. Helen returned to her seat only after making sure he was warm. Jordan sent his recording directly to the investigation team instead of posting it for attention. Tessa resumed service with Raymond observing from the galley, and when she reached row 12, she placed hot chocolate on Malik's tray.
"This is from the whole cabin," she said.
Passengers smiled, some with wet eyes, and the child across the aisle raised his blanket like a quiet salute. Maya looked out at the clouds, then closed the leather folder without opening it. She had entered the plane as a grieving daughter and protective mother, not as a board director. Before landing, she approved a passenger care review, including anonymous audits, stronger whistleblower protection, and a simple rule: essential comfort items could never be withheld as punishment. She also asked that Malik's name stay out of publicity. "He is not a lesson," she said. "He is a child." At the gate in Seattle, Malik took her hand and looked back once at the cabin that had first watched in silence, then found its voice. Maya did not celebrate. She simply walked forward with him, carrying the repaired scarf between them. Here at EchoStory, we remember that respect is not something you offer after discovering someone has power. It is what you give when you believe they have none. What would you have done in that cabin? Comment below, like the video, subscribe to EchoStory, and share this story with someone who believes dignity should never depend on status.